What's up, everybody? My name is Dr. Mongoose. I hope you all had a happy new year, and welcome to Yay or Nay episode 2. And just going to get right into it because I do have a lot to talk about. This is going to be about MLG's new game types just recently released yesterday. If you haven't seen the new one game types, there will be a link in the description talking about them. And just to get right off the start, these things get a big fat nay. I don't know if you guys have seen them at all. I don't know, guys, if you have played them at all, but no. MLG and Ghost Ayami, I don't even think MLG had really much of a hand in this. Whatever Ghost and those guys did, they did it wrong. I'm not going to let this video turn into something about an anti-BR versus DMR or whatever weapon have you. This is simply about what is going to play and be viewed best by most of the Halo playing audience. The MLG audience and the competitive audience maybe makes up 10% of the Halo playing audience, and with these settings, if this is what MLG decides to go with, it will be Halo Reach all over again. And for all of those who say, oh, but do you remember Columbus 2012? It was some of the best Halo Reach that we ever saw played. Yes, it was some of the best Halo Reach that one ever saw played, but the viewing numbers stayed the same from Halo Reach in 2011. So just because something looks good and plays very well competitively, if it's not going to appeal to a mass audience, then nothing's going to change. Now, onto the settings if you haven't seen them at all. There is one loadout. It is BR starts only. No secondary, 2 frags. The only thing that they possibly got right was the support and tactical package, which is resupply and explosives. Now, explosives is very good for any sort of play because it doesn't actually make the grenades more powerful. It just increases their consistency. Their final blast radius is extended by, I think, about 15 or 20%, making it so that if any of you have ever experienced it where you threw a grenade at someone who was one shot and they survived, that won't be happening anymore. That's about the only thing that they got right thus far. The weapons on map, the power weapons on map are rockets, railguns, sticky detonators, sniper, and the only thing, because unfortunately Halo 4 does not have dynamic timers unless you fiddle with it, the only thing that is ever on a dynamic timer is rockets, and for some unearthly reason, railgun. Why you wouldn't put snipe on a dynamic timer when it's the only other power weapon on map next to a railgun is beyond me. But I suppose that's just what, professionals will do when you're designing game types. If I sound a little angry, I'm sorry, I am. This is not a Halo that's going to be successful, and as someone who is trying to go pro in Halo, this is not a Halo that will get picked up by any fucking league who has any business sense in their head. This is more cut down than Slayer Pro is that 343 shipped the game with. There are, of course, to appeal everyone who wants to play with another rifle because, because of course the BR is the greatest weapon in the sandbox. There are carbines, light rifles, and DMRs on the map. However, there are only maybe 2 per map, and they're on 60-second timers once you pick them up. Those are also on dynamic timers, so if you don't get to them within 12 seconds of the game starting, they're going to disappear until they respawn 60 seconds later. So basically what we have on our hands is we're being forced to use a weapon that someone has nostalgia for or feels that, no, one weapon is just a little too powerful, or one weapon is, I don't like it, and we're now forced to use the battle rifle, which in its own right, I don't even think is a bad weapon. I like the battle rifle. It's not going to be my first weapon of choice every time, but I don't hate it. I don't think it's a bad weapon. I think it needs to have a slight buff to be able to work inside of its role, but it's not the starting weapon I would choose every single time, which is why I have a DMR class. But on certain maps I will pull out the BR, I'll pick up a BR because I'm out of ammo, or it's suiting the role I'm playing on that map better. However, to simply be forced to play with a certain gun because someone feels it's better is not going to help competitive play whatsoever. And this is just indicative. This is more indicative of the fact of the competitive community still, falling back on their, holier than thou ideas of we know what's better. Cut the game down, and everything will be better. And what's even better, what's even like the most rage-inducing, the most anger-inducing thing thus far coming out of these game types is the fact that the ordnance for these game types are thruster pack, hologram, and hard light shield. armor abilities that can work as a default, armor ability, or better yet, as an on-map pickup, as a power weapon or a power-up. That is a good idea. Putting them in a ordnance drop is ridiculous. It doesn't work. The thruster pack, the hard light shield, and the hologram are not power weapons. They're not power-ups. They're not something that is going to change the tide of a singular battle that will end the game. If you're going to put an armor ability in a ordnance drop, you need to make it worth something. You need to make it worth a choice. As it stands, those aren't worthy choices. Those are things that should be like a default choice. You should have something like maybe jetpack in there, or have camos and on-map pickup. Those armor abilities make no sense. And on top of that, I don't even know if I'm not one of the opinion that feel ordnance drops are necessary, and for the sake of argument, where people are like, oh, but you have to appeal to the casual audiences. There are only two playlists that have ordnance as an option: Infinity Slayer and Big Team Slayer. Everything else has no ordnance because it's an objective game mode. Why they have ordnance and objective is also beyond me. But that's just me. Have you guys played the game types? What are your thoughts? How do you feel about it as well? Me personally, I just can't stand this sort of asinine idealism behind competitive game design. The only good thing that can come out of this is hopefully after the community feedback, which I know is 90% negative, Ghost will be fired, and someone who actually knows how to design a game type will be brought in. Well, guys, that's my video for today. I'm going to be spending the rest of this week and most of next week doing videos dedicated to competitive gaming in general, some of my personal experience with it, and the state of competitive Halo and competitive gaming as a whole with MLG, and where myself and my friends will be going from there. I look forward to being able to share that with all you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Do you give the new MLG game types a yay or a nay? And what are your reasons? I'm always open to hearing new reasons. This video is a little bit more angry than other videos, but it's just so frustrating. Well, guys, I hope you had a nice day, a lovely new year, and remember, my name is Dr. Mongoose. Please watch 2 of my videos and call me in the morning.